out on. Now, the statistics are scary. Apparently, 65% of girls in Kenya cannot access sanitary towels. You're going to call them pads, and other people who have simple names for them call them names of, well, the companies that produce them. And this is important because the moment you put together the numbers of days that a girl is going to stay out of school as she manages her menstrual cycle, it turns out to be a whole month plus other days. What is happening is that the boy is in school. So is there an equal ground for competition in this case? Maybe not. Another case happens when now the girl has to find an instant solution. She's going to go out there with somebody who can buy for her the sanitary towels. What happens? You can guess. Your guess is as good as mine. My name is Corazon Safan, and today evening I'm hosting Powerful Women with a Solution. Sister Speaks. And you can say Reigning Woman.
Reigning Woman.
Thank you very much. Welcome Moore. Welcome Angela and welcome Lash. Wow, I know the informal names, but now you can introduce yourself.
Monica Mohoya.
All right.
Yeah.
My name is Angela Wambui.
And my name is Angela Rivera.
Angela and Angela. So I'm going to call you Lash, I'm going to call you Angela, and I'm going to call you Mo. Sister Speaks, this is a wonderful organization, I believe. And Heels for Pads, I believe that was a beautiful idea. Maybe just talk about what you see from where you sit that drove you to introduce the whole idea of Heels for Pads before we listen in to one statement that was made by a gentleman this morning that was very sad.
I will go, it's my personal story.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Nyandarua County and I went to a local village primary school. Lucky enough, my school used to give me menstrual products and education. That was so many years ago. But, you know, thinking that in 2019, 2020, there are girls who cannot even, you know, sit and comfortably talk about periods. It's so shameful.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
It's backward.
Yeah.
It's backward, right?
Yeah, very.
Yes, Angela.
So we haven't started this journey that long ago, but as you know, as we went to different communities, different schools, and like we saw the struggles that women were going through in the 21st century, it's mind-blowing actually. And to know that period poverty is a real thing, I think a lot of people are not aware. So that's really what our calling is to bring that awareness.
I advocate for bringing men into the conversation because as much as period poverty is an issue, but there's also the challenges around period taboo and period stigma. So how do we break that from it not being an awkward conversation to it just being normal because it's part of nature?
Yeah, thank you. And talking about bringing man into the conversation, listening to what Vivian Vincent had to say this morning, it was a deeply painful situation that he mentioned. Take a look.
Then that's
insight, because nobody sees anything happening.
You know, like it's only that the moral fabric of the society has been torn apart, and this does not just start with the government; it starts with the parent. And sometimes, where I was born and bred in abject poverty, and sometimes you realize there are push and pull factors that lead people to do certain things. So I believe it also negates that. We have to make proper mechanism whereby we empower societies, we empower these women. Personally, I've dealt with young girls who do prostitution for only 20 shilling or 50. And I believe it may sound very harsh for me to come and solution. Then that's
insight, because nobody sees anything happening.
You know, like it's only that the moral fabric of the society has been torn apart. And this does not just start with the government, it starts with the parent. And sometimes where I was born and bred in abject poverty. And sometimes you realize there are push and pull factors that lead people to do certain things. So I believe it also negates that we have to make proper mechanism whereby we empower societies, we empower these women. Personally, I've dealt with young girls who do prostitution for only 20 shilling or 50. And I believe it may sound very harsh for me to come and start maybe judging and criticizing these young girls, not knowing the background they are coming from. Because personally, when I'm talking about this thing, I'm not just speaking as an onlooker or somebody who is sitting on the periphery. I'm somebody who has been in the middle of such a kind of situation whereby I've met people. I met a woman who only told me that she was infected of HIV because of a packet of unga. Three days the kids had not eaten. And she met a man, and the man say, just buy for me a packet of unga. The man say, before I buy for you, I have to sleep with you. And when they went to sleep, when he went to sleep with the man, they never used any protection, and that was the result. This woman got HIV. So I believe we must have proper mechanism whereby we empower society, we empower women in society, we empower families, so that the poverty index that we are experiencing, when a family can be able to provide a meal on the table, when a family can be able to meet basic needs, and realize Corazon, it's a fact. We have moved with you, have done charity work with you, and you see we go places whereby even a common always a pad for a girl they don't have. They are using a dirty cloth. They are using a sponge. They are using a piece of cloth. So imagine when this girl is promised that you sleep with me, I'm going to provide for you always. What is going to hinder this young girl? So before we just attack them and do, we must make sure that the poverty index, the families are empowered. Women, and I speak this with a lot of sincerity and a lot of emotion, that we need just to empower families, and I believe by doing so we shall curb some of these things.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Moore, that was one of our guests in the morning, and I'm sure the situation is deeply painful as it is. Period poverty. It looks like a situation that puts women in a very tricky situation. Let me begin with you, Lash. What does it look like on the ground when you interact with these ladies? How far does it push a lady when she cannot afford basic sanitary towels?
We went to a school in Moranga, and we realized like the gravity of the situation in regards to period poverty. And so in this particular school, the challenges that they have is the parents of these kids are, they elicit in certain type of behavior, or they even sell alcohol, that kind of stuff. So you'll find they, for them, transactional behavior in regards to getting the money that they need for pads. It's not a big deal, but it's so sad when you hear
transactional behavior, meaning they can simply engage with another man,
yes,
an adult
in exchange for money, so that they can buy what they need in regards to menstrual management products, is it pads or what have you. We've had situations where we've gone to a slum just in Mathare, where they use ash as a form of pad. We've gone to situations where
ash, how does ash come in?
So they use ash and maybe wrap it with cloth, and that's what they use.
Oh, then they put it on.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then obviously the case of the girl who took her own life because of being shamed allegedly. So those are the kind of scenarios that we want to find a way to curb. Like, there shouldn't be a parent crying for a child who's lost her life because of periods. There shouldn't be someone changing, sleeping with a man in exchange to get money for pads. There shouldn't be a scenario where someone is using ash when there's things like pads or reusable options.
Are definitely there. Angela, we cannot run away from this as a conversation. I mean, somebody has to talk about it. But then again, who do we blame in this case, in your opinion? I know the situation is there's abject poverty in some areas, but who do we need to put some blame on anyone?
Well, at the end of the day, things should start at home, but we realize it's also a cycle. If in your own house, you're not being taught these skills, or you're not being even how to value yourself as a woman, we realize it's bigger than just, pointing the finger at somebody. It, lands down on culture, sometimes religion. So at the end of the day, knowledge is power, and that's one thing that we as Heals for Pads aim to, interject and disrupt. So civic education is definitely one of the part of the things that we do when we visit schools or children's homes or women's centers. We don't just drop pads off.
Yeah, exactly. The question of the blame actually comes in because in some cases you're going to blame the young girl who sexually involved herself with an adult for that 50 shillings or 100 shillings. Somebody says that they should think better instead of becoming immoral or doing something wrong so they can get something that they need. Would you blame the girl who decides to have a border guy buy for her pads in exchange for this and that?
Of course not. Like, she's just trying to
She's
survive.
12 or 10.
She doesn't even know what she's doing. She doesn't know anything
Other
about
people
life.
think that maybe they have chosen an easier way out.
No.
There's no options for them.
I I feel like education is 360. So you have the aspect of the school, you have the aspect at home, and then how does the government also play a part? So they've said that they're going to give money to distribute pads to these schools. How do we, why was there an issue of someone taking their own life if that supposed school should have had access to pads?
Right.
So there's so many people we can blame, but if we sit around and start blaming, we need to find a solution.
Somebody has to find a solution. Lush, the reason why I was bringing that before I get to hear what Mo has to say is because there's a question of morality when poverty is involved. How far should we excuse that behavior when poverty is involved? McVivian in that clip mentioned a woman who needed food, and then she gave herself to a man who infected her because her children had not eaten. And some people say those are people who take shortcuts. How far should we excuse?
But when you're desperate and you have nothing to lose, so you're desperate, right? You don't know where you're going to get your next bread. You have no idea where it's going. And here's someone, and to you, that transaction isn't something of value. So in terms of, I go back to the sense of education, people need to understand that their body is valuable, right? It's worth something. Did you know your heart can be worth $500,000? So you see what I'm saying? So if we start educating people from the grassroots, right? So we start educating from school, from primary school, and start educating them the value of their bodies, the value of, what it means to have periods from a girl's perspective, from a boy's perspective, when you mess around with a girl with periods, what that means
exactly.
as well.
So education definitely needs to come in. Did you finish?
Oh yes, pretty much in a nutshell.
All right, okay. More from where you sit, the question or the picture of poverty and how far girls go to actually get these resources that they need. What does it look like from the situations you've interacted with?
So I just echo what they said. It goes down to having that conversation, starting telling a girl what will happen to your body, and having that autonomy to just say no, because I don't want a man, a Buddha guy, when I'm coming from school to think he can look at me in a certain way, solicit, knowing that my background is bad or I come from a poor background. So I want the whole society to know that it's a collective obligation to have this conversation and actually remind, we know that womanhood is very powerful, and when you're able to caution that in terms of having the conversation that we're having right now, maybe to create environments where girls can be told by their teachers that this is going to happen to your body. So I'm giving you this education or this knowledge because it's power. Go have this conversation with your mom, and vice versa. So when we have that conversation going around, I think will bring
it changes
up
it. But that is ideally what we want. Ideally, that is ideal. But now let's see what's happening right now. From because I know you people have interacted with these situations. The period poverty that we are talking about. She mentioned the situation in Morang and all. What are some of the situations you've interacted with that really bring out the picture, and how miserable is it?
I have been volunteering in Mathare in a street feeding program, where me and my friends, we had, before Heals for Pads, we started, just forgo that bottle of wine. So we buy a self-care kit for these street-connected girls and women. So we'll go ahead and buy them sanitary pads, panties and soap, and basically sit down with them and tell them that they're women first and they should take care of themselves. Secondly, something that really shocked me, they have mastered the art of not being able to have the sanitary pads. So it's a question of it's a sniffing glue that makes me forget whatever I'm going through.
It has become such a normal thing that they find instant solution. And glue is a solution?
Because it sets you, it gets you wavy, like you can't.
You go high and then you don't care about the blood and all that?
But because you're remember, it's a habit. It's a habit.
Wow.
So you're constantly operating on that
other level.
And us dropping sanitary pads to them, we have to tear them up, slice them open, because if we get an intact packet, it's going off for sale for glue or for something else.
We have heard about girls getting themselves into relationships that are destructive, but we haven't heard about girls getting into drug abuse because of this. I think this is very new. Looking at the picture as it is, Lush, And she has mentioned slum areas, and these are areas that are going to remain slum for a long time, that we cannot resolve in the same way we cannot lift poverty overnight.
Yes.
What would the government need to do? I know they've lifted the tax and they're talking about free pads, but what would the government need to do if a solution was to be found that is long lasting, in your opinion?
They first need to stop talking about what they've been talking about for so long and start trying out those ideas. So what are the challenges when they start distributing? Are they seeing an impact? You see, the more you sit and talk and sit on this money, the challenges continue. There might be a lot more Jacqueline's a girl who committed suicide in Bomet. There will be a lot more of them. So if they also involved women in the conversations of those policies, because majority of those decisions being made might be with men, and they might not understand the real issue from a woman's perspective. If we reduced tax from the product, if we reduced tax in the things that make the product, you will even find that people will produce the pads here. It will be less expensive. It's a normal thing. It's something that happens to me natural. So if there's a way we can reduce that, see, like now,
why not give it for free?
It would be great if they could give it to me for free.
Why not? Because when talking about lifting the tax, that means they still have to purchase it. And we've had McVivian talk about a woman who could not afford 50 shillings and had to give herself for 50 shillings. So if you're going to sell it at 30 shillings, then she's still going to ask herself, is it food or is it sanitary towels?
And that's the issue, because a packet right now, on average, you'll get one for 50 bob. So there's someone out there who can't afford 50. So they're thinking, do I buy tomatoes or do I buy, noodles or whatever it is, or do I buy pads? Do I feed myself or do I find a temporary solution? But I feel like if Scotland has managed to find a way they can provide pads for free, I think all societies or all countries that are not following suit, we need to learn from them, take a page from their book and adapt that.
Exactly, because it would work. Angela, maybe people who make decisions don't understand the reason why we would ask for free pads. Mo has mentioned drug abuse, girls getting into drug abuse. We know that we have talked about early pregnancies and we've talked about destructive abortions and all the things that go on. Would you confidently say that there is a relationship between the menstrual cycle, the lack of the resources that are needed, and all these other evils or ills that a girl meets?
Definitely. I mean, it becomes stressful. If I just think about when my period just surprises me, I'm like, I know I'm gonna have a bad day. 'Cause I'm like, oh gosh, now I've stained my pants. It's flustering. So now when it gets down to the point of where a woman has somehow learned how to master the art of not valuing her period, or just being like, okay, I can survive without it, as in, a part of her is not valued. And so if you don't even value yourself, that's why taking drugs or glue or whatever it is that you take to suffice, it's
so you can forget about it. More, let's check in at this, the relationship between lack of these resources and other decisions that get them into early pregnancies, that get them into getting infected with sexually transmitted diseases. Just open it up. Is there a relationship so that maybe the policymakers can understand that this is as important as the conversation currently people are having about providing contraception for children?
Exactly. So I'm a believer that there's an intersectionality between sex education and menstruation, because menarche, it's the onset of blood from a girl's reproductive organs, and that's where she transitions from being a girl and to be of childbearing age. So we cannot forget that menstrual blood itself is set you on to womanhood, and womanhood means you can conceive, you can have things going on, and I think without menstruation, we don't know whether the universe can exist.
It will not exist. I mean, we know.
So it ceases to be a woman issue.
Missed periods,
it just ceases to be a woman issue, and it's a global and a human issue. And it's very important that we, as much as we are telling girls, this is how you use your pad, we tell them that this is your body, and you're a woman now. You're very powerful. And the power comes with making decisions, and a decision from saying yes to engaging in illicit
or engaging
behaviors.
sexual premature sexual intercourse.
Yes, so you have that part of being a woman, it gives you the power to say no and to make your own decisions.
Would we confidently say that we are exposing these girls to a lot of evils when we do not give them the sanitary towels, because their bodies are definitely saying we are ready to conceive, and yet poverty is pushing them into looking for sanitary towels from men who will give them the pads and then engage with them.
Yes. So we have the poverty that is pushing the girls to do this. And we have institutions like faith-based institutions that are not onboarding or ready to have this conversation with girls, because they're saying they're too young, but they're not too young. When I started my periods, I was like 11. The girls were starting their periods as young as 7 years. So we have to consider, things are changing and lifestyles are changing. So we have to include sex education so that we can understand the whole conversation. It's a 360. So we can talk about menstruation without tackling the sex education.
And everyone needs
it's
to be
related.
Involved. All right. And everyone needs to be involved. Before we talk about heels for pads particularly, Lush, I kept thinking about the men who actually take advantage of these girls to get them what they need in the society. What do you think is happening? I mean, shouldn't somebody also be speaking with the men who put the girls in this situation?
So supporting what Moira is saying when it comes to 360. So as we talk to the girls about their bodies and what is happening in their bodies, we need to sit down and talk to the boys, right? So there's that conversation of men are trash. But if you don't start talking to the boys and teaching them how to talk to a woman and when she's going through this, these are certain the challenges that are happening in her body, right? So if she's having periods, chances are if you mess around with her, you could be a young father, right? And then if you mess around with many women, you could contract many diseases. So to have those conversations. But what happens with these men, and what I was saying, it's very hard to blame a 10, a 12-year-old. The thing is, when you're desperate, you're vulnerable. And if someone has power over you, they can smell your desperation and your vulnerability, they will abuse their power. But it should be the other way. It should be someone should be acting like a dotting dad. So for me, the reason why I advocate for dads in the conversation, when I had my periods, I was at home alone with my dad. My mum wasn't there, so I didn't know where the pads are kept in the house, and my sister's much younger, so I can't ask her. So I spoke to him and I said, I think today's the day, I've gone from being a girl to being a woman and I don't know what to do. So I said, you have to take me to the shops, because I wouldn't even know where to begin. And he did, and he said, here's the aisle, pick what you need. For me, I thought that's normal, but now I'm beginning in this journey with Heels for Pads, beginning to realize that even if I have a husband, that maybe I shouldn't have a conversation with him on my periods, that I need to go. It's normal.
Wait, and that's really terrible. I mean, if you can't talk about your periods with your husband, I'm actually losing my breath.
Because
if you can't talk about your periods with your husband, how you guys gonna get babies? I mean,
there's some women who are embarrassed to ask their if it's with those days that you can't get out and you want to ask him to pass by the supermarket. There's some women who genuinely. I even saw something on Instagram where this shopkeeper was selling pads and she was asking her the cashier, "Can you double bag it, because I don't want my husband to see it. It's an embarrassing thing."
God.
You see, and
is that culture or religion? What did that
and
to
that's
us?
going back to what I'd said earlier. As we talk about period poverty, we cannot ignore period shame and period taboo. That traditions, in places like Turkana, a girl has to sit outside the house during her 4 days of periods. Can you imagine just sleeping outside?
Because you're dirty, apparently, in their eye. Thank you very much for bringing that up, because again, the question is how far, Angela, maybe your opinion on this, how far should we involve the men in this conversation?
We all came from women, so it's like Mo mentioned earlier, it's a human issue. And so there was a time we actually conducted a social experiment just in the CBD to see how do people react? Are periods still a taboo thing in 2020? So we had just put some fake blood on our dresses and our trousers, and we walked around town to see how would people react. Is anyone going to tell you? Are people going to ridicule you, laugh? And it was really shocking. A lot of people just stare mostly women, they'll look. And it's almost like a shame on you. You should
they get embarrassed on your behalf. Oh, yeah, they even
And
condemn
they
you,
won't
but they won't tell you.
Yeah.
They hate you already for embarrassing them,
Yeah.
and their fellow women.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It's wild. And, you know, we did have some brave men that stood up, you know, and were like, hey, you know, and just outrightly said, you have a stain on your dress. It might be blood. Are you okay? Do you need any help? You know, so we've mentioned, it's a normal thing. It shouldn't be shamed. And so when we ask some people, how comes you didn't react? How comes you didn't, you know, assist the lady that you saw? And they're like, oh, well, you know, sometimes women themselves act like it's a bad thing. So we just follow suit.
I think we're also to blame as much, because when you go to the toilet, do you hide your pad?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
Why are you
don't-
hiding
why
it? Are you? Is there a gun that you're carrying? Do you get what I'm
No,
saying?
it's more like when I'm going to put on a panty. I don't want people to see that I'm going to put on a panty.
But you see, but the point, like, if you're in a public space, we are always hiding. So I think from the men's perspective, they feel, oh, like, okay, cool.
Nobody should see that.
Maybe this is the conversation we
No,
don't
then
talk
there
about.
is a point outrightly that we were taught when we were growing up, that a man should not see your blood. Nobody should see it, and especially a man. So living on the hiding bit, we grow up thinking that it's a dirty thing, and that you should hide it. And the stigma that comes with it, oh my God. So how is it that a young girl in the village is going to get this mentality out and change it more? What's going to happen?
Just what she said, you know, we are menstruators. Our men are co-menstruators. You have a driver and a co-driver, so I help you navigate. So it's so imperative that men help us navigate through the journey. So when you come to the office, you have, you know, cramps and, oh, get me some water. He'll definitely go get some water for you. Get me some painkillers. He will get you some painkillers if he's progressive enough to understand what you're going through. So I think it starts from that conversation. Just, you know, there's no shame in having your periods. It's normal.
It's a
You don't have a
normal
baton to stop it. You don't.
It has to come, and that's the only way that I can confirm I'm a woman. I mean, if I didn't have it, how would you know I'm a woman? But anyways, let us take a short break, but we'll be coming back to actually talk about pills for pads. Do not go so far, but the conversation going on here is actually touching. We have come to a realization that beyond the early pregnancies and every other thing that comes as a result of getting involved with the man to be able to afford sanitary towels, actually drug abuse can get in at some point. But do not go too far. We are coming back to find a solution, because Sisters Speaks has heels for pads, where there is exchange of used heels for sanitary towels, and you may actually have a chance to ask them if they can give you or contribute towards such a project if you're running. The SMS line is 22047, and online we're very much present, live streaming on Facebook at TV47KE and on Twitter as well. Do not go too far.
Na katika vidokezo, polisi wanachunguza mauaji tata ya kijana na mzee waliouawa kinyama eneo la Engalasia, Kakamega.
Wafungwa 21 katika gereza la Embu wamegunduliwa kuugua maradhi ya kifua kikuu almaarufu TB.
Na zoezi la kusafisha ziwa Victoria laanza rasmi siku chache tu baada ya vyombo vya habari kuangazia uchafuzi katika ziwa hilo.
Kwa wakati mmoja alikuwa na uzani wa kilo 130, ila kwa sasa ni mmoja wa viongozi waliofiti zaidi, kwani amezingatia zoezi la lishe bora.
And that 130 kilos, there was no element of muscle at all. So you can imagine 130 kilos mainly of fat.
Abdul Somad Sharif Nasir, ndoto yake ilikuwa kuwa rubani, ila kwa sasa yupo kwa siasa na uongozi.
I started aviation, and even that, but that is something that I still want to pursue.
Ungana nami Elizabeth Mtuko katika Mfahamu Kiongozi, tukiangazia maisha yake.
Wiki hii kwenye Sauti Yetu.
Tunatoka kwa soko kufika kwa nyumba. Mwanzo unapima ile kiasi, kama ni kilo 5, unajua kilo 5 inafaa ije kwa hizo kama ito 15 liters, unaona?
Kwa Mwadime, hii sio kazi tu. Anawasaidia wana Kibra kuimarisha afya yao.
Sio aibu. Juu unafanya kazi, sasa utasikia aibu aje?
Yule anajiweza naona ni aibu, lakini yule hajiwezi haoni kama ni aibu.
Mary Mwende anafanya kazi ya kuuza nguo za kuvaa ndani kama vile chupi hapa mtaani Kibra. Licha ya kuonekana kazi ya aibu, hakujali, ila alijua mchagua jembe sio mkulima. Sauti Yetu, kila Jumamosi saa 3:30 asubuhi.
Alright, welcome back and thank you very much for remaining here on TV 47. Remember, you're watching Reigning Woman. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Nairobi every Tuesday from 6 p.m. Number one, I can see you here. We need men that are more compassionate, that will look past the sex and find an alternative activity. But nakwambia, if she's hot, so help, really, Namo? Yeah, Ibrahim, when you're saying $500 for a hat, I'm not ready to lose my hat. I don't know what you mean, but thank you so much. I know menopause is period poverty, period. Wow. Hosea Jeb Tabak, you're saying watching live from Eldoret. Tell us what you think about period poverty and what the solution should be. Joseph Sangoro tuned from Mombasa, thank you very much. What's your opinion about this? What should the solution be? Jack Masharia, you're saying on air. Thank you very much for remaining with us. Remember, the SMS line is 22047 and our TV 47KE on Kenya and on Twitter. We're talking about period poverty. What is your experience? Where you're watching from, and what should the solution be? Mo, I'll begin with you before we get to Heels for Parents, because I know this is a personal, it's very personal and very dear to you guys. What was your experience that maybe stood out with menses in your life so far?
From my experience?
One experience that stands out that you will not forget about.
To date, I have really bad cramps, and I have been told, get a kid, get some shots, go for surgery.
Yeah.
But it's what it is.
I hear it's actually, at some point, it's actually a treatable condition.
It is,
yes.
But it's not endometriosis.
Yes.
If you're diagnosed with that, definitely you have to go for the whole way. Like you have to, see a specialist and continue. But some of, like my case, it's not that.
Yeah.
It's just period pains.
All right.
Yeah.
And people really don't understand, but it can actually paralyze you.
I close the whole day. I don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually something that puts you down.
Yeah.
Maybe you need some, well, I'll tell you later. Angela.
For me, luckily, I don't get cramps. I think the extent of my pain is hunger pains. I just get very hungry and I eat a lot. If I've ever had an embarrassing moment, I think there was a time I was on a date actually, and it just, Mother Nature's like, hey, I'm here. And so now I didn't know how to tell the guy. He's like, what's wrong? It's like my whole mood just changed. And I'm like, I'm trying to sit down and not stand up. And he's like, what's wrong? And I'm just like, I need pads. He's like, okay, what size are they? Like, what? It's like he had no knowledge of it, but his willingness to just help meant a lot to me.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's never forgotten. All right, Lush.
Mine is, I probably recently, I just got off my periods, and I was meant to meet the ladies, and I was just so pissed off. I was mad with the world. If anyone, like, and I couldn't explain it, and we've met this guy twice, a photographer, and he's met me both days, and I'm moody. He must think I'm just such a horrible person because he's just met me where I can't uplift myself. I don't want, so when I'm like, I try my best to avoid interaction because I get snappy really quickly.
It takes you out of your mood. Like I normally tell the people around me, I am not in a good mood, so just watch out, because I might say something so bad and you'll hold it against me for years. I remember that someday when we were from school during the holidays, all of us were home, and my mother walked into the farm and the vegetables were dry, and the first question was, who is on her menses, who walked into the farm? And that, I think that was one of the most terrible things I ever heard, but I kind of get used to that.
But is it a thing?
I have no idea. I never really asked.
So after that, you get embarrassed.
I never really asked because, well, I didn't want to say, me, hello, I dried your vegetables. I'm responsible. I'm the culprit. I really want to say that. I'll begin for me again, Lash. Heels for Pads. How is it done? I mean, how do you get people to get the idea of exchanging heels for pads? What kind of heels? Who actually takes them, and how do you get pads in return?
So we needed, when we first started, it was CSR under statistics, of which we'll go into, and now we're transitioning it for it to be a full foundation. We needed a fundraising tool, and we wanted to avoid touching money. We wanted to avoid, how can we ensure we just get as much pads as possible and maximize on that. So Heels for Pads has become a great fundraising tool. So I'm sure you have some heels in your shoe rack that you no longer wear. You just eye them and say one day. So you can donate those heels to me, and a fellow girl from a particular university, for instance, who's just finishing uni, doesn't have that much money but can afford to buy menstrual management products, but doesn't necessarily have that 1,000, 2,000 to buy heels. But so she can come to us and spend 500 and get a nice second pair of heels. So that 500 that she would spend would buy a packet of pads of like a value pack of 50 pieces, and that can help a girl who is in school, at least if her cycle is where she uses about 10 pieces of pads a month, then you've covered her for half a year.
Yeah, right. How has this made a difference, Angela?
Definitely going to these schools and being able to know that you have equipped someone with the knowledge, number one, and the number of people that are inspired, men, women, everyone, they want to get involved. And so when we see that, it really, sparks something in people to want to help, want to get involved. We really believe in each one teach one, each one reach one. And, we'll go to places and people are like, wow, when I was, a teenager, I experienced this and I wish I had something like that. So to know that we are actually filling a void that is there, that is...
you're spreading the knowledge and the love, and you're providing what they need. All right, more. So who actually gets to benefit? Who do you people reach with the pads that you collect? And how is it that anyone who's watching right now can find you to donate the heel or two heels or two pairs of heels that they have? How do they find you guys?
So I kind of go back to Heels for Pads and why we use high heels.
Yes.
To many women, high heels are confidence boosters, and there's a saying that goes by Maya Angelou, give the girl the right shoe, she will conquer the world. So it's a twofold foundation or an initiative where you donate your high heels. A girl on the onset of her career, she can come and buy the high heels. But the gist is she doesn't have to pay with money. So she gets to take home something
that will boost her confidence.
Exactly. And go for whatever her dream is. And at the same time, she'll be circling that back confidence to a girl to stay in class and to work for her dreams. So it's a twofold. And also you have someone who admires you, you're someone's role model. You can give us your high heels, and the girl maybe who you admire is you. She'll literally walk in your shoe. So it's also a mentorship tool. So once we collect the sanitary pads, we partner with people. Of course, we have to do due diligence because it's been done before. People have been doing it before. So it's a question of these people, is there the real need? So we do like a needs assessment, then we partner with people, and then we go to schools and to slums and to villages where these sanitary pads are needed, but we just don't dump the sanitary pads. We do like a menstrual session where we tell the girls what to expect, and the boys how to treat the girls when they are on their menstrual.
So how do I get to donate my heels? Where do I find it?
So you can find us on social media at Sister Speaks 254 or at Heels for PADS, Heels for Pads, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook, and on LinkedIn as well. So you can follow the hashtag Heels for Pads. You can also go to our website, which is www.sisterspeaksglobal.org. So you can go to the tab where you can donate, you can volunteer, and we can get all that information. So we'll send you the locations that you can be, which are convenient for you. For example, if you want to drop high heels in town, we'll give you the contact person. We have a studio where we put them in Kilimani, and it's just a matter of coordinating where it's convenient for you.
So if they can find you on social media, then they can find picking or dropping points.
Yes, another place they can come to our pop-up markets. So we take period talks to public markets. So we are partnered with different market events. So every second Sunday of the month we are at K1 Flea Market. This Saturday we are at Current Flea Market. So you can bring your pads, you can bring your high heels, you can buy the high heels, and
And at the flea market, do you offer education or
no, just sensitization.
And as you do the exchange as well. I want to read for you something from Women Bani. Says, I'm currently in Sindo, was seated outside minding my own. Then my host neighbor signaled me to look at a lady who was coming from the lake with water on her head, that something was protruding beneath her skirt. The neighbor was laughing at the scene until she realized I wasn't enjoying. I was hurt. I felt embarrassed. How can a fellow woman laugh at such a predicament? Like how? She zipped after realizing I wasn't in. And then it goes on and goes on. So today I mentioned Sindo Suba, land for the initiative. She is mentioning that area as an area that might benefit from this initiative. And then she says, kindly help our sisters down here, I plead. If somebody probably has an organization or has a system that can reach out to girls in these different areas, can you partner with them?
Yeah, as long as we do a needs assessment, we need to make sure it's a legit organization. We need to ensure that the area is the type of people in those areas would benefit, because it makes no sense to go to an area that doesn't benefit, and we could have taken those pads elsewhere.
So you have to assess that they actually really need the materials.
They need, and then now we figure out the best logistics. We always like our best if it's possible to be present or to be involved in one way or another, but when it doesn't work, as long as we've met with the organization, understood what it is that they're trying to achieve, see how best we align, then we'll do our very best to partner, because we can't travel everywhere.
Very true. Again, as we finish up, I know that there is a market day. There is. What is it about?
So we have the Sisters Market. So again, people can actually come on Saturday. So it'll be on Saturday 7th, and it's in
this Saturday.
So it's in honor of the fact that it's International Women's Day.
By the way, it's coming up very fast.
So we want to celebrate women, and we've partnered with the Insta Market. So it's going to be at the Alchemist, which is in Westlands. So the great thing about this venue, it splits into two. So downstairs will be where the market's taking place. All the vendors are female, so you can get to support female-run businesses, interact with them, and we'll also have our Heels for Pads, so people can bring donate their pads, donate their heels, or just come and do an exchange if they want to. Then upstairs is a ticketed event, so we have various speakers talking on business, career and money, relationships, diversity. So we have speakers like Jumana Sanyana, we have Michelle Ntalami, we have Wamboi Kibue, Sheila Kwamboka, Fena. So they'll be talking on various topics and, sharing their knowledge, imparting someone else. And as she says, each one teach one, reach one. Yeah. So the idea is to, bring women together, celebrate each other, support one another, learn from each other. So if anyone is interested, you can get, if you follow us on Instagram at Sister Speaks 254, there's a link for where you can get the tickets on the MOOC website. And we have a great deal, we can come as a squad of 4.
Yes.
And all you have to spend is 2,000.
Oh, only 2,000 shillings. Everyone can attend and anyone can attend.
Yes.
Where is it again?
The Alchemist, which is on Westlands.
All right.
Yes.
As we finish again, she mentioned a mentorship project that's going alongside, I think, Heals for Parents, that has a dispenser involved. Yes. As we finish, yes.
We have a project called Adopt a Dispenser. And so one of the things we realized last year when we just first started our initiative is that, we go to a school, we donate like a 3-month supply of pads, and then it's like, the likelihood of us returning to that location is very minimal. So we decided to partner with a company called Ari that creates pad dispensers. So with the pad dispensers, we have, different companies that will sponsor a dispenser. We put it into a school and have a year-long supply for each girl. So each girl will have a card and she scans that card. So that card every month will allow a girl about maybe 12 pads. And so that way we're able to, hold the schools accountable. Wherever we drop off the pads, we know like, girl number A is actually getting her pads, she's actually using them. And then also with that, we can see now that they have pads, has it improved their school attendance? Like how is it changing their lives? So it allows us the ability to measure the impact.
All right. Finally, why should somebody get involved with Heals for Pads? That person who's watching and wants to contribute, the one reason that they should definitely get involved.
First of all is to start having the conversation of periods. It starts from your own house. If you have a girl, you have a boy, just let them know that women go through this.
All right.
And you can be able to sponsor a girl. Don't take advantage of girls who are going to school and doing transactional sex for pads.
All right.
So protect the girl child.
All right.
Protect the boy child as well.
And protect the boy child as well.
Yeah.
And thank you very much. More and Lash and Angela. I only mastered the very informal, but I know that you were founders of Heals for Parents and also Sister Speaks. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. I know that people are going to be engaging so that we know how to reach the organizations and systems to help distribute the sanitary towels. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you very much for staying with TV47. This is the Reigning Woman on TV47. Until next Tuesday, I'm Corazon Stefan. Good night, but do stay right here. 7 p.m. news is coming up. Upewa TV47 unapakuliwa na Andrin Kilemi pamoja na Clifford Numbi. Alamsiki hadi hapo kesho, mapenzi tele.